Today we are joined by floral artist and installation designer Bill Schaffer. Bill is a third generation creative director of Schaffer Designs and one half of the award winning team he leads with designer and educator Christine Kratt. Together, they create large scale installments, immersive wedding environments, and international exhibits that blend engineering, structure, and contemporary floral artistry. With more than 30 years of global experience and 100 years of family legacy behind him, Bill brings a direct and info perspective on design, collaboration, and the evolving world of large scale floral work. Bill Schaffer, welcome to the Beautiful People series.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a couple of years of trying to get together and make this happen.
Yeah,
So I'm glad we finally did.
I know. This is definitely a long time coming and is so special to me. Um, we worked a little bit in 2007 and didn't get to work a long period with you, but I have followed your career through the years and I'm so impressed with everything that you've done. Let's start from the beginning. You are a third generation florist. Let's talk about that. And from a young age, you were brought up in flower shops, right?
Yeah,
So
not of my own choice.
yeah, right.
I will tell you that I used to be an altar boy in the Catholic Church, and
Oh,
I would during Mass like literally pray to God that I would never be a florist
oh my
because we
goodness.
we literally lived behind and above the flower shop, and my chores were cleaning the buckets, sweeping the
Yeah,
floors. My sisters helped too, but they helped making beds, doing the laundry, putting the dishes out for dinner. Not me. I was in the store. I was the one being picked up from school to go on deliveries, which I hated. Trust me, when you're 11 years old, the last thing you want to do is walk in and see dead people in a funeral parlor. But
right.
um, it didn't matter what I did in life after that, which was a lot of other different things. And every holiday, I found myself back at the flower shop, helping my mom set up the plants, set up the stands, helping her make deliveries because she was busy. I never really learned actual floral design until I was almost 30.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I was in the restaurant industry. I was in bands, played professionally, traveled with bands. Yeah, I did so much, like I said, but I always found myself home Thanksgiving when it used to be a real holiday for flowers.
yeah,
I mean, Thanksgiving, Easter, Mother's Day, and Christmas, without exaggeration, and sometimes Valentine's Day, found myself at my mom's shop for days on end just helping her out.
yeah. Did you know though? Were you always creative
Well,
or good with color or?
I'm a musician. That's also what I went to college for, play guitar. And so there was always this creative edge. My mother was a big band singer, like serious travel the globe big band. My aunt traveled the world with dance. My sister opened up a couple of dance studios. I was big in choreography with large groups, and so yeah, there's always a creative bone in our family. And then of course, you mentioned it in the intro. 2025 is the 100th year of well, it was Forget Me Not Flower Shop.
Oh,
I turned it into Schaefer Designs actually the year you met me, 2007.
okay, okay. Did you learn anything from your grandfather?
No, he passed away when I was 5. My mother, we literally were living a couple of blocks away. The whole family packed up and moved into this big 3-story house,
Hmm.
massive house. And we kind of filled it up really fast. I don't think we gave my grandmother a chance to grieve back then, but
Oh, geez.
went right into flowers. Flowers. My mother really kind of didn't know that much about flowers either, and neither did my aunt. But because it was a florist and my grandfather was involved in like every association imaginable, they had like 60 or 70 pieces to make, and they kept saying yes because it was for their dad. So that's how they were thrown and thrust into the business. And I was like
Wow.
65, 66. And yeah, I didn't get into it until 91.
Okay. So through the years, you've become certified AIFD and AAF and PFCI. Is that important to you? Was that important to you? Because
Um,
actually, I noticed on your signature you don't have those.
I
So
find that it's if you're doing something for yourself and you really want to attain and achieve something for you, for the personal you, I think it's very valid. I and Chris together have helped a half dozen people in the past 5 or 6 years become AIFD. We've worked with them, computer learning with them, on site learning with them, just conversations with them. I mean, a lot to help get people past. And every single person we worked with has passed because they really wanted to achieve something. Our personal opinions about what happens in any organization, and I mean any organization, it doesn't matter. You work for Mayesh, I'm sure you see it. I'm associated with the GEMS group in Miami. No matter what you do, you try to avoid it, but friendships form within the groups. Those friendships wind up becoming cliques. They don't
yeah,
necessarily, they're not necessarily mean. They're not necessarily harsh in their origins. They just become this impenetrable group. And sometimes there's tunnel vision within certain organizations, and I have a lot of disagreements with things. I officially am no longer PFCI. AAF is permanent. It's a lifelong thing. That's
yeah,
a that's an SAF organizational concept or not.
right,
You achieve it. And AIFD, at about 19 years in, Chris and I not argued, but had major discussions whether it was something we wanted to continue with. Did we value it as part of our career? And I'll tell you why in a moment after this. And about 19 years, it was right before my 20th year, I mentioned to a gentleman who I highly, highly respect within this industry, but not within the design industry, just within the floral industry itself. And I asked him, what do you think? And he told me, look at what you do within the floral industry in the United States. Don't worry about the rest of the world, but look what you do. AIFD still holds a lot of weight. And global people who come into the United States to do business look at AIFD as an educational status. I mean, they don't realize some of the best designers I've ever met are in AIFD, and then there are some designers who are like that squirrel who finds a nut, you know, the blind squirrel who happens to find a nut. But that's in any organization. People are promoted without, I believe, um, the qualifications. And I think it's the same within our industry. So it's very difficult to say, whether I believe or don't believe in something. For me, I and that gentleman, by the way, said to me, he said, "And Bill, you're 19 years in. In 20 years, you just told me you have this whole, you get this legacy thing, you get this whole I'm like, he said, why give it up now? And he said, and he was connected to me in a financial way. And he said, look, if you want, I'll pay for you and Chris just to keep the initials. I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. I just wanted to know your opinion because I value it. So we've kept it, and we encourage people to become part of it because we do believe in education. And within the United States itself, um, people who are not as qualified, who are not like way up there on the scale, they have to learn. They have to study to do an AIFD test. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. So
yeah, it's expensive.
if somebody wants to do it, and I see that they are truly inclined to do something better for themselves as an individual, then go for it. The only thing, and I've been doing this even before I dropped the PFCI concept aspect of it, and I'll tell you this is because when we wrote our first book, and that was in 2012 or 2011 when it was released, 2012 when it was released, and we got the cover, and it was handed to us, and it was a landscape book, and there's our words, you know, Bill Schaffer, AIFD, CFD, AAF, PFCI, blah blah blah, Chris Crapple, all that, and all it felt to us was pretentious.
This one?
Yeah, look, yeah, but see the names at the bottom of that front
Yeah.
cover? It to us just felt pretentious. And
Okay.
like, why? The best designers in the US. I'm not saying the best designers, but from a financial standpoint. You look at
Yeah.
the David Beams and Preston Bailey's and Jeff Latham's. None of them have initials. None of them. They're
Yeah.
great designers with great business perspectives and a great understanding of the human condition and what trends within the heart and the emotion, not necessarily what trends in the exterior world. So I think, following that line is what started me down this long path. And to be honest
Hmm.
with you, we mentioned it prior to jumping online, was about freelancing. I worked for what gave me such great experience was prior to doing things on my own, I worked for so many other companies and saw so many perspectives. And one of the things I'm realizing in the middle of all this is that, and this is was happening at the same time I was going for AIFD, and then I became AAF, and then I became
What
PFCI.
year was that? What year was the AIFD?
2002 was AIFD, and 2006 in Washington, D.C. was
Hmm.
PFCI.
Okay.
Just PFCI during that year. And during that time, I was freelancing everywhere, like for everybody who had a name. And I realized all of these different styles, all of these different things, some of them cutting corners, some of them being more meticulous than I could ever want to be or need.
Yeah.
Yet none of them had an initial behind their names. None of them. I talked to somebody, and I'm not going to give the person's name because I don't think it's just, but I'll just say it's a New York artist who was big even back then, said to me at the time that he stopped interviewing AIFD members because they were obnoxious. That was his word, not my word.
Interesting.
Well, because he probably had one
Thing.
or two experiences that was negative, but
Yeah.
that's like he probably had hundreds of experiences prior to that with people without the initials, but he didn't take notice because of the
Yeah.
initials. Chris and I work heavily with the international team. We're really, really honored to be members of Floral Fundamentals, based out of Scotland, 1,300 members worldwide. Um, these floral designers in Germany, they'll go to school and they'll learn architectural landscape and floristry and floral design and art, painting. In other countries, they'll have multiple degrees. They'll have all of these things behind them, masters, and some of them doctorates. None of them have initials behind their names. None of them.
Hmm.
And why is it so important to put it out there? The company itself does not properly promote, I believe, any of the companies properly promote outside of the industry. So when I hear AIFD at the Philadelphia Flower Show, which we're at every single year, I'll still have people ask me, "Hey, where's the aphid exhibit?" And it's because there's not a known quantifier within the U.S. market as to what it means. I think if it was properly marketed to into the U.S. market, I think the florists themselves could really take advantage of that. And I think the growth wouldn't be 1,300 or 1,100 members or whatever it might be. It could be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. It could be everybody in the United States may want those initials simply because it has a marketing value.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, again, I do believe in the concept of education. And it's something that I stake everything I do upon. And whether it's leading big teams or teaching small classes or workshops, it's about helping somebody achieve their personal goals along with fulfilling your needs for the moment, especially if it's on a big job. So if somebody wants comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to be IIFD," I will never ever say anything negative. And even in
Hmm.
talking to you here, I don't believe that what I'm saying is negative. I just don't.
No, it's not.
I'm really talking about my personal reasons.
Yeah.
There just came a point for me, it just didn't make a difference. I wasn't getting a speaking job in the US. So the PFCI thing, I didn't understand it. And and I understand the concepts. And my friends, I have some of my dearest friends, especially in the floral community, are connected to Teleflora and to FDD, and their design teams, and even Smithers and their design teams are wonderful. And I love all of those people. But in today's market, nobody wants to pay for anything. Wholesalers don't want to pay to have a show. I mean, shows cost
Right.
tens of thousands of dollars. You're bringing
Hmm.
in flowers, chairs, food. You're bringing in everything. And even though you could probably offset it or do a break even concept, or write some of it off as an educational tax expense, you can't cover it because people don't want to spend. I mean, when I first started speaking in the 90s, I had audiences of 400 and 500. Now I'm lucky if you have an audience of 40 or 50 or even 20,
Mhm.
at that point. So I don't, so I understand why people only go to that subset of educators.
Yeah.
They're
Why do
fantastic.
you think that is?
I think it's simply because, what an educator costs is pretty inexpensive to bring out somebody from Teleflar FTD. It really is. The fact that these educators are not working every single solitary week somewhere in the U.S. is beyond me. It truly is because it's so inexpensive to actually bring them out. But even within that expense, which the wholesaler or the individual workshop person who's running it, they or the education center who might be running something or a specialized program, maybe like a Texas State or an Alabama State or something along those lines,
Right.
they can't afford to bring in a designer. They can't. They can't afford the couple $1,000s in fees. They can't afford the airfare, the hotels. By the time you
Yeah.
walk away, it's a 4 grand. It's 3,500 to 4 grand expense base. Then you're not talking. And then you have the flowers on top of that. Most
Hmm.
wholesalers will give X amount of flowers, and after that, you still have percentage concepts dealing with what's free and what isn't free, especially
Yeah.
in today's market and of tariffs and freight and distribution and logistic concepts that are going on out there. It becomes a completely different concept to throw on an educational program. So I feel like we're stuck in this concept of limited educational availabilities. There are some great schools like David and Leanne Kessler or Teresa Colucci, people like that who just really give the great experience. And I think that in today's world is probably better than hoorah workshop concepts. I mean, hoorah big design show concepts like it was in the day.
Right.
You go to Europe and you put on a show, you got hundreds of people still in the audience.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I did a show in
Yeah.
Oman last year for a group of people, and thousands of people showed up. I don't know how many of them were even false sellers, but the concept of
Mm.
their interest in floral, the
Yeah.
the need to want to be a part of it, I think that's the difference. So the initials to me, bottom line, are just not as engaging to me personally. Um, and the pretentious aspect of what happened during the book made us both feel like we did the wrong thing. But there was already 10,000 copies in print. So
Yeah.
we couldn't recall the covers and pay for that
Yeah.
because, as you can see, that's a really nice cover.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's an expensive
Um,
glossy hardback cover. Yeah.
let's talk about this
Ah,
because really, if you think about it, I mean, you're a pioneer at the Philadelphia Flower Show with getting married there. So let's talk about your experience.
well, you have to go back 9 months because in San Francisco, I proposed on stage to Chris in front of 900 AIFD members. Got down on
Hmm.
my knees. There was a very small amount of people who actually knew it was ever going to happen. It's on YouTube. It's under Bill's proposal. It's got a couple million views, I think, at this point.
I
Very,
remember it. Yeah.
yeah. And so that was kind of the end of it. Chris was like, "Well, don't ever do that again."
Oh.
Chris used to go. Chris was a teacher for FTD. She was an educator for FTD for almost 20 years,
Yeah.
and she was anxiety ridden every time she got on stage. Even now, when we go on stage together, her anxiety level is so high.
Oh
Um,
no.
Fantastic on stage, but just getting her from the 5 minutes before to the 5 minutes on. So I
Hmm.
promised her we would never do this again. That ends the proposal. Now, we hadn't really told anybody. We were literally considering getting married barefoot on the beach out in Pacifica, California, where she grew up with her brother and sister-in-law as our witnesses, and that was going to be it. My kids weren't even going to go out and hit her nieces and nephews weren't going to be. It was just going to be like the four of us and go to dinner and be done with it. And we didn't even know when. It could have been a year later, 2 years later. We didn't have a date.
Yeah.
December before the flower show in 2012. This would have been December 2011. I get a call that there was an emergency meeting for exhibitors, major exhibitors, and I'm like, oh no. but I have to go. It's a you have to be there, have to be there. So I finally get there. I get to the offices in Philadelphia, and I'm the only one there. They found out that I was engaged to Chris,
Oh my goodness.
and they wanted to start this new thing called Wedding Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
They said,
Okay.
"We want you to be the first couple to get married at the Philadelphia Flower Show." Now, I did find out years later that there was a couple who got married at the show, but it was after hours. It wasn't part of the actual show. So,
Before there was, I think there's what was one after you. Was that one
yeah,
before you?
one the year after, and then that was the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a marketing nightmare, I think, for them to try to
Oh, okay, interesting.
get this going. But the first year it was really big because not only were what made the marketing easy was we were also exhibitors. So every local news station picked up on it. But what happened was
Yeah.
I was like, I know Chris. She will not want to be getting married in front of thousands of people or hundreds of people, what I thought at the time. I didn't know any better. So she wasn't with me. She was in Germany at the time on a buying trip. And I'm sitting in this office with these people, and I'm like, look, I got to talk to Chris. And I'm thinking to myself, I got to, and they're like, well, okay, so what can we do to make Chris want to do it? And I'm telling her about the same exact thing I just told you. And they're like, so I'm thinking to myself, okay, the theme this year is Hawaii. So I'm going to ask for something absolutely over the top stupid that they will never, ever agree to, ever, to get this just shut down. So I don't even have to
Yep.
deal with it. So I
Famous
said,
last
we
words.
want two first class round trip tickets to Hawaii, but not just one island. We want to go to at least two or three islands. We want a car rental paid for on each island. We want a per diem. I can't remember what I said at the time, a couple $100 a day per
Oh
diem.
my goodness.
We asked for all kinds of amenities, for reservations for dinners and things like that in like hard to get to places. So nothing happens. This was like around December 10th or December 12th. Chris and I and some of our friends were in Tampa. Corey Harbor, Jody Duncan, Sandy Shrek. We were doing a show in Tampa for the opening of our very first time introducing Schaffer Designs as a freelance company to the public. And we're at lunch on the final day, and I get a phone call from the flower show, from the head of the flower show, Sam Lemony, and says, "Hey, Bill, it's on." And I'm like, "What's on?" They said,
Oh my
"The
goodness.
wedding. They've agreed to every one of your demands." I'm like, "What?" And you have a year to take it. You don't have to like get married and take it the next day. You have a year. So
Geez, ask and you shall receive,
I
huh?
walk. I was outside when the phone call came. I came back into the restaurant and sat down at the table. I'm like, "So, Chris."
By the way,
By the way,
oh
they
my
said
God.
yes. Well, all I can tell you is that Jody, Sandy, and Corey jumped up and said, "Okay, we're leaving." They got up. I had to go back to the convention center and start packing everything up on my own because they took Chris dress shopping and shoe shopping. They bought a pair of because you're on the showroom floor of the flower show, a pair of beautiful Swarovski crystal flats to wear to walk through the crowd with, and oh, it was crazy. And then and so I'm sitting at Tampa and I'm thinking to myself, what in for a penny, in for a pound. So I called the cake boss. And after a lot of union negotiations that I'm not even going to go through with you,
Oh my goodness.
cake boss did our cake. In China, if you look on YouTube under oh butterflies and butter beer, something like that, it's like 65 million views on the Cake Boss channel.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
it's crazy. Chris used to go to China and they would recognize her like at airports. I thought it was because I mean, first of all,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, she's 5'8" and a half and red hair, so they recognized her really quick when
Yeah.
you're in China. And yeah, then we had the TV crews following us around for an entire week, coming to our house, following us around. And they featured us on TV shows. They featured us and you know this even just from an interview like this, a full 3 minute segment on ABC. On their FYI Philly, which we found out got over 2 million views that first time it was aired. And then between the Cake Boss, which was also a live show that came out about a month later, and then there was the actual wedding. You know, we never anticipated there was over 10,000 people live at our wedding. It was
That's insane.
they flew in this band from Hawaii who played somewhere over the rainbow because we mentioned Chris mentioned that's her favorite. Literally,
Oh.
one of her favorite songs, and of course he had passed away at the time, but they put him in his
Yeah.
band, and so walking our wedding march was Somewhere Over the Rainbow by a Hawaiian, like a real Hawaiian
I
band,
love that.
full outfits and full gear. We had, the hula dancers up
Oh
on
my
the stage.
goodness.
It was crazy. Yeah, so that's that picture. Oh, and by the way, the judges didn't know who we were, and we won Best in Show that year too.
Yeah, congratulations. It was a stellar year,
It was a
really.
stellar year. Yeah, we were sick
Yeah.
as dogs because the day after we got married, at 6 in the morning, we were at the flower show cleaning up, fixing because it was open for it had already been open for 5 days already, and we had a
Mhm.
big turnaround. So we were there like at 6 in the morning, and they kicked us out at 8:30, and we were both sick and our throats are sore, and
Oh
but
no.
the show must go on, right?
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of the flower show, Philadelphia Flower Show, you've done years and years and years of it. What would you say was your most favorite install
There's a lot of different ones that
or
stand
the
out.
most fun?
The most fun, and it was Chris's favorite. It became Chris's favorite after we did it was in 2022, our first year back inside after COVID. We did a
Hmm.
we did an exhibit called Eye Candy, and we based each of the 8 major parts of the exhibit, each of the rooms. We literally created these rooms as childhood favorites. From Chris did this cotton candy with amazing ballerinas. Just you talk about, you see what Fleur de Lis does, and think about the highest
Yeah.
level that you could ever see, or something like that. And everything from bubblegum cigars to cake, a room based all on ice cream. So it was that was the most fun, and it was Chris's favorite. Prior to that, one of our biggest challenges was Ansel Adams.
Yeah.
It was the year of the national parks, and we were both fans of Ansel Adams, and of course Chris, growing up in California, was a mega fan. So one of the biggest things that we had to do, we literally had to get permission from the daughter of Ansel Adams, and then the estate made us they gave us permission to blow up these massive, some of our favorite shots that we were working on the Grand Canyon and Kilauea and things like that, but we had to show visual evidence that we destroyed every picture after the show, or we could have been sued ridiculously.
Oh,
We had
wow.
we had the same situation. We had to work with Tim Burton's group when we did Nightmare Before Christmas in order to get permission. We did a lot of things that became permissive based. We did American in Paris, and we had to get MGM to approve the use of us using their video in the background. We did Kandinsky. We had to go to the Guggenheim because they run all of Kandinsky's main estate in Europe and here in the States. And we had to go to New York and get all kinds of permissions and sign all kinds of and we weren't even using his pictures. We were just using images of his pictures. But
Hmm.
even that can be sued. So, yeah. So I would say the top two in Chris's book would be Eye Candy and then Ansel Adams. And for me, you said fun. Nightmare Before Christmas was fun.
Yeah.
Challenging as hell, but really, really fun. Bringing to life the movie, but our version of it. Yeah.
What would you say was your biggest struggle in floral design or in your life?
Knowing when to pull back. Um, the best example of that aspect of it was in 2007, I think. No, 2009. They were doing Italy at the Philadelphia Flower Show,
Right.
and I had to be the the creative director. I had to be the lead designer. I had to be the coordinator. I had to be the person, the liaison between everything else. If you are there after 7 o'clock in the morning on the day of judging, um, that you basically sign a contract that says you owe them the entire stipend back. And at the time, I think it was like $38,000, and I had about $30,000 in donations and labor given to me. So we were well into it, and it was literally about 5 minutes before 7 in the morning, and my wife
Wow.
and her friends intervened and said, "Bill, doesn't matter if you're done. We have to leave." I was basically dragged out like a toddler, bordering on tears and giving a tantrum. And I didn't realize that during all of that time, I really screwed up with the unions. I'm not going to say which
How
union.
so?
Well, we had this massive display overhead. We did Atlantis because
Yeah.
Atlantis was considered to be off the coast of Italy somewhere. And we did this fantasy concept of Atlantis, and it was
Mm-hmm.
it was just absolutely amazing. And I had this giant fabric, 40 feet by 30 feet above my head, of blue fabric with fans in it so that it would be lightly waving
Right.
and slight blue lights hitting it. But because I was dealing with the rigging union and the stagehands union and the electricians union, I overstepped my boundaries and only had one of them do it. And I didn't tell the others. So we left at 5:07. I was incredibly happy, really proud of what we did, even though I wasn't done in my mind. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Walked back in, and the only year this has ever happened to us, or anything like it, because of the other 18 years we took gold, or 17 golds and one silver, we were not even judged because one of the unions came in and cut off all of our electricity. They literally
Oh
cut the lines,
no.
nipped them. The lines were separated, completely separated. So we didn't know this because we weren't there for judging, and because we had this dark blue thing above our exhibit and we were in the corner, there was no overhead or ambient light, so our exhibit was in the dark. All of our ground
I
lights,
remember that.
all of our
Yeah.
uplighting, everything was in the dark. In the dark. Now, our dear friends, who probably did deserve to win, won, and that was Moda Botanica at the time. So we were glad they won because they did something incredibly creative. They probably would have
Yeah.
won anyway, but I learned my lesson that you have to pull back. You
Mm-hmm.
can't be a creative director. You can't run a job. I will tell you that since then, other than during maintenance and pre-show, pre-setup, I haven't touched a flower at the Philadelphia Flower Show since 2009. You can't.
Wow.
One of the other things I've learned is you can't bring in some of the top designers in the world, literally in the world. In the past few years, we've had multiple world champions, World Cup champions, everybody from Mark Pampling and Kanye van der Westerlaken to Mike Berma to Frederick Dupree and Max Hertod. So many amazing European names that we're connected to through the Floral Fundamentals Group come over to the U.S. As a matter of fact, at this point in time, it's been more than 30 of them, and just since 2019 when the World Cup was in Philly. You can't bring these people over. You have to have the coloring book. You have to
Yeah.
have the lines. You have to have the ideas. You have to have it listed. You're giving them the flowers. This is not their design. They are there to create. But you can't
Right.
bring in these amazing designers and tell them to color in the lines, which is exactly what happened to me in that year that we did Atlantis. I was
Mm-hmm.
forcing everyone to color in the lines, including myself, not allowing room for creativity. Now we had done well before that. It's not like we hadn't won Best in Show before that, or tied
Yeah.
for first place the year before that. But it came down to the simple fact that the hardest lesson to learn in being a creative director in this industry is to stand back. And I know I talk a lot. I know I am somebody who gets into a conversation and can't shut up. But the other lesson you have to learn is to listen. Because if these
Yeah.
creative people are bringing you an idea, you have to listen. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
something, 9 times out of 10, it can't work. It just can't work. But you get into these big giant projects and you have this tunnel vision because you
Yeah.
have a goal, you have a budget, you have a criteria, you're dealing with a whole group of people, you're dealing with hotels and airlines and food, you're dealing with everything else that comes with it. And then you have to deal with these creatives. And you
Yeah.
have to realize
And lots of personalities, right?
you have to be quiet. You just have to kind of like accept what they're saying. And you have to tell them you can't say no. Never say no. You have to tell them why it won't work or why you can't. And sometimes you have to be honest and say, you know what? It's probably a much better idea than mine, but financially, I can't afford another $1,000 into this project
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
because they come up with great ideas. And maybe if I would have known about it 2 months before, I would have changed the budget or manipulated it to make it work. But when you're on site and you have to leave the show in 10 hours, you don't have time to start from scratch.
Yeah.
So I think they're the two biggest problems I've had in my life. Um, I'm not going to go into depth because, between beloved family members and beloved pets, there are still parts of my life that are probably will never be resolved.
Yeah. I think that's life in general. What do you
Yeah.
think you would tell your 30-year-old self?
You know, I've thought about this. I've actually had this question asked to me on multiple occasions. I don't know if I'd open my mouth
Interesting.
because I didn't get into this aspect of the industry fully, like fully thrown into it until I was almost 40. If I would have told myself when I was 30, I might I might have stayed in a marriage that I probably shouldn't have been in. I might have left my family home before my kids were 18 and 21, which is what it was when we were finally divorced. Um, I might have made changes. I might have never met Chris. My 30-year-old self was not AIFD. I might not have ever gone for it. I might have seriously gone back into music because I was pretty good at it. Um, I don't know. So I feel like now we talked prior to going on air about moving from, the East Coast to the West Coast, and after 9 years, moving back to the East Coast. And you know what? Things happen for reasons, and I don't know if I want to change them. I don't know if I can't say, oh, I want to tell my
Yeah.
30-year-old self, hey, look, there's this whole event industry out there that you haven't even tapped into.
Yeah, right.
Stop being a small town flower shop. Go out there and do it. But what if I would have done it?
Right.
I mean, I met Chris at AIFD. So, you know, some of my best friends forever in life are from AIFD. So we go at full circle back. So any group, any organization that you join, whether you believe in the particular principles of the organization or not, as I said to you earlier, it's about the people. It's about what you want from it, what you can
Hmm.
give back to it. And I believe that there was a time that I couldn't give back anymore. Um, I was doing the AIFD Philadelphia Flower Show for multiple years. I ran one of their exhibits. I co-chaired another one. I was a lead spot on a third, and I worked with other people on others. And this is my 20th year. But I was asked, "Hey, listen, I heard you live in Philadelphia. Why wouldn't you want to do your own exhibit?" So I have. That was probably the beginning of the end of my connection to AIFT. I mean, I was going every year for years and years after that, but it
Hmm.
just wasn't. I started realizing that instead of instead of being the lemming within the team and maybe running a small group within that, I could start my own, and I could start my own culture based on the things that I believe. And I believe the
Yeah.
best of what I do at the Philadelphia Flower Show came from my early knowledge with AIFD and the groups I worked with.
Hmm.
This year is our 20th year as Schaffer Designs at the Philadelphia Flower Show 2026. And with some of the people we just added into the show this year, we have three more Europeans coming in for the first time and three more US designers, a total of 20, including Chris and I this year. And that puts us over the 200 mark of designers
That's
who have
amazing.
been in and out of the Philadelphia Flower Show. And most of them have had 3 or more years. There have only
Yeah.
been about a handful, maybe six, maybe seven, who have only come 1 year. And that was because
Hmm.
it was a bucket list concept, you know.
Yeah.
And they haven't come from like, across the bridge in Jersey. No, they're coming from
Yeah.
Sweden and coming from Estonia and coming from
Hmm.
Russia. We've had Russian designers, we've had Chinese designers travel. I mean, we have a designer this year coming in from New Zealand. So it's not like and
Incredible.
they come because they want to work with us. We
Yeah.
don't pay them. We don't pay for anything. But they do it all on their own dime. And that's the other thing. I can't. It's hard to associate with two groups that are bringing in a lot of things. We've had years where we've had designers over the past 10 years who 1 year they'll go to symposium for AIFD because it costs so much money, and it's justifiable. And then the next year they'll come and work with Schaffer Designs because they're paying for their own airfare and hotels and meals. So
Yeah.
there's no programs to pay for, but you have to make a decision. We had
Right.
one designer the set who until she wound up having children, she would come every other year because she would take a vacation with her husband, and the next
Oh,
year
nice.
vacation was the vacation money came, and often her husband came to Philadelphia and stayed at the hotel and traveled around. He was a
Yeah.
sports fan, so it was always during sports seasons. So we've had people make those decisions. So I think the greatest aspect of my life are the teams. I know
Yeah.
that you had asked for pictures, and I had sent you a ridiculously abundant amount of pictures. But one of the emails I sent you was the most important pictures.
I was going to ask you about that because I feel like, when you have a really strong team working with you or behind you or with, it makes a world of difference. Even with, all the different personalities and all of that, that you have to take the good with the bad, but having a really good, strong team is set you up for success. Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about
because
that.
we do it, if someone is coming from this small little flower shop in Paducah, Kentucky, and will never have this opportunity to do a giant installation, we
Hmm.
find that they become some of the first people that we invite. Yes, we have people on our teams who have many years experience. One person has been with me since year one.
Yeah.
Good designer, great teacher. Um, but sometimes you just need people with that, excuse me, I
Bless
apologize,
you.
with that experience to help the new people. We
Yeah.
bring in some of the top designers of the world, some of the designers who I have gone and taken classes from, but they want to come and work with us. And wow, what an honor. Yet at the same
Yeah.
time, um, you have to also invite the people who are first timers. This year we have a person who is still studying to become a florist, and I think, and as a matter of fact, she was so enthusiastic last year that I invited her on a big mega wedding, very immersive concept that we did back in August, and she did great. I mean, we didn't have her doing lead design work, but sometimes, hey, listen, at the flower show, you know what I do? I told you I don't touch flowers for design, but I do
Yeah.
sweep the floor. I process flowers. I move buckets. I'm constantly getting people what they need because you know what? The same thing when you knew me way back when at Beautiful Blooms. I have a designer standing at a desk, and in an event situation where I'm paying somebody, I don't need that
Yeah.
designer to go filling or go soaking foam. I don't need the
Right.
designer to be taping foam. I don't need the designer to be crushing
Yeah.
um, chicken wire to put it into a container.
Right.
I need the
It's not that
designer.
they're above that,
No, but if
right?
I'm
It's
paying
just
them X
right.
amount of dollars, I need them to stand at the table and get done. When I do a design, when
Yeah.
I do these things, and I sit there with Chris and I say to Chris on designs that she's creating, and I say to myself when I'm creating this massive event, I don't care if it's $100,000 event or a multi-million-dollar event or whatever it is that I'm creating, and I've been fortunate enough to have many of those. Um, I think to myself, if I have to create this entire event by myself, if I have to create this design, this wedding arch, this flower wall, if I have to create this by myself and nobody to help me, now I'm not talking about the processing or anything else, but I'm talking about actually designing it, standing in
Yeah.
front of it and designing. How long will it take me? And over the years, I've cut it down because I've found more and more qualified designers. I've learned how to give instructions better, which I think is really good.
Hmm.
But if I know that it's going to take me by myself to do this wall, this 8 foot by 10 foot step and repeat wall with 8,000 stems in it, 10,000 stems, if it's going to take me 9 hours, then I add on 20% to that 9 hours. So that's, 10 and a half, 11 hours. And I need that much labor on that wall. And I do that for every single part of the entire job. How long will it take me to do this? Multiply it by zero point 0.2, um, add that in, and that's how many people I need to do that wall. And I've been really lucky. I would say in the past 10 years, I've hit OT 5 times. That's it on a couple hundred jobs, mega jobs.
Wow.
And so I think when you talk about like what you had mentioned about having these really great designers or you have a great team, when it comes to paying for a team, yeah, you have to bring in you have to bring in the heavy hitters. But when
Yeah.
it comes to more than half of what Chris and I do, which are, believe it or not, freebies, um, large scale installations worldwide where we believe in the concept of bringing people in. I believe in it. Chris and I believe in education, not necessarily just through workshops and design programs, but through live experience. That's why we always bring in newbies into the flower show. Or I had people working with us in Oman last year, or when I have people, or when we're teaching at the Burma Institute, we have assistants who are also in the process of learning. So, I mean, it comes down to the fact that the, the teams that you build um, are the most rewarding. Whether it's a paid for team, whether it's a volunteer team. And that's why those pictures I sent you to me were so important because
Yeah.
you asked, what the most challenging thing was. And I had a feeling you might ask what the best thing was. And the best thing about everything, all of our best friendships, all of our dearest, deepest friendships come from through AIFD or the Philadelphia Flower Show. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah. It was nice looking at those pictures because there was familiar faces, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. It was nice to be able to relate to those pictures.
This year we had
What do
a mega job. I was doing the Philadelphia Flower Show and I had 28 people there. And the exact same time frame that we were setting up the flower show, I had another team in San Antonio
you?
doing this mega, mega, mega wedding, like 185,000 stems, multiple
Oh my
degrees,
goodness.
all kinds of craziness. And I tapped into a whole new group of people. I had met this person many, many years ago, but I called her up because I knew she was part of the Rose Bowl parade. And I don't know if you know Katie McCormick. I'm sure you do.
Not sure.
Southern Cal girl, LA girl.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, okay.
he ran Fiesta with Jim for years. Anyway, I called her up, and she opened me up to this whole new world of designers, which is fantastic. So I got to use like
Yeah.
like 8 or 9 of them during that San Antonio job. That job was 18 designers, 15 assistants. You know, that was ridiculously ridiculously long job.
Yeah, I bet. So, what do you think is or was the biggest change in the floral industry in your time in it?
I think the saddest change, not for the growth of the industry, because I think what I'm about to tell you allowed the industry to grow as from growers and logistics and Miami-based companies, not necessarily wholesalers or florists in general. I think when the big box stores started selling bouquets back in the late 90s and really pushing it, florists believed they had to fight them. So you've got these $5 consumer bunches and these $7 consumer bunches and these $10 bouquets, and florists thought, F this, F this, F that. Oh my God, this is horrible. They're ruining the industry. They're ruining the industry. Well, I watched so many floral shops close within a few years after
Yeah.
that. And those that didn't close just became stagnant. They stopped changing. They stopped educating. They stopped learning. They just gave in to the fact that somebody was doing it bigger. Well, you know what? It doesn't mean they were doing it better. I remember at my flower shop during this time, I had a completely different attitude. I was very, very fortunate. I had a mother involved in the business at the time, and my ex was involved in the business, and we all kind of like realized that we can't fight this. So what are we going to do? We're going to close shop, or we're going to do something different. So we became a service-oriented company. Like, you need us there at 7 a.m., we'll be there at 7 a.m. You need us
Hmm.
there at 4:15 in the afternoon and to walk in the door at the same time with everybody else in the middle of Center City, Philadelphia, where I need 2 drivers and a delivery person just to take your delivery, I'm going to do it. You need a crazy ass flower. I started connecting, and what it did, it's forced me to connect with growers outside. We never dealt with growers in the 90s. You dealt directly with a
Yeah.
wholesaler. Now I'm dealing with growers. I'm dealing with wholesalers outside of my own market. I'm calling people in Miami. Can you ship to me? I don't care what it costs. And I mean, I was taking losses on some jobs because I knew that in the end, it was only going to benefit the company. So I took a whole different approach. I completely
Yeah.
took a different approach and made it a service based industry. And I also realized which is different now. But back then, they were still getting all B grade crap. Wholesalers were still getting all the A's, but florists didn't care. They just were so concerned that
Yeah.
that the supermarket up the street was selling 2,000 bouquets a week. Who cares? Who cares? You know what happened to
Yeah.
me? I wound up selling less product and made more money because I was also
Yes.
I started charging more. Well, people wanted to
Yeah.
know, well, I can get a $10 bouquet at the supermarket. Why are you charging 20 for almost the same thing? I said, well, here's how I'm going to wrap it. Here's how I'm going to package it. Here's how I'm going to treat you. Here's how I'm going to take your money. Here's how I'm going to do this. Here's how I'm going to
Right.
do that. And I think flower shops around the country, a couple of good friends of mine did the same thing. And when we talked to each other years later, we were all like, wow, I wish we would have had this little group that, to encourage each other because, it was a challenge, because you were
Yeah.
fighting it. So I think the biggest change in our industry came when the everyday florist gave up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and allowed the
Hmm.
supermarkets to lay claim. Now you look at supermarkets, hey, listen, I'm not going to I'm not going to argue. I had been approached a number of years ago with Debbie Lilly. Are you familiar with Debbie Lilly? Can you
Mm-mm.
create an? She was a big Chicago, and she still is, HGTV star.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
was approached. Can you create an entire line of wedding designs, wedding bouquets for the Debbie Lilly collection? Because we want to start trying to do weddings. And to start off, you would do like 5 weddings a week, and then a year later, you're doing 50 weddings a week. And this was all for like the
Mm.
Albertsons Safeway chain. And the next thing you know, you're doing 1,000 weddings a week. And
Oh
then
my
Amazon
goodness.
and Hallmark approaches you and say, "Hey, listen, we want to create a bouquet for Amazon. We've got the rights. What can we do? How can we get it there fast and easy?" And they're saying, and here's when things shifted. This is in the early 2010s when all of a sudden these bouquet companies said, why are we spending all of this time and energy on $10 bouquets when we can make a $50 bouquet, we can make a $100 bouquet, I can put it on
Hmm.
Amazon and we can have it shipped to you. That was another mega, mega, mega shift. And I'd say the third and final shift when it came to the traditional florist, because that's at heart and soul where I come from,
Sure.
was COVID.
Yeah.
I worked for a Miami company working with farms in Bogota and Medellin at the time, and I remember when COVID hit, they were so afraid of being all the labor and all the expenses that they were burning up. And I'm sure you remember this.
Oh,
Farms
I remember
were
it.
burning up. Oh my God, multiple millions of dollars worth of product a week
It
because
was
if they
awful.
didn't burn it up, they were going to have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars more in labor and shipping and expenses and things. And then you got the waste and everything else. But what they didn't realize was the only thing open in this world was supermarkets. And if you want to go gift giving, what do you get at a supermarket? Maybe a card and a flower bouquet. So there
Hmm.
was a lag during that first summer, like for 3 months, when all of a sudden we were realizing in the beginning of June that, oh my God, we're the only floral source out there.
Yeah.
And then you got to remember, like everything just got burned up. So it's not like they can
It was
instantly
gut wrenching
they can
to
not
see it.
instantly come back into the market. It took them 12, 16 weeks before they could literally start resupplying supermarkets.
Yeah.
But once they did, oh my God, floral sales, floral awareness, the whole floral concept of buying flowers in the United States just skyrocketed.
Hmm.
Self-awareness, the wellness issue became totally apparent when women would go to a
Yeah.
grocery store and start buying flowers for themselves, like in abundance, to the point now where we're
Yeah.
we're at like a
True.
53% point where 53% of all flowers sold in the United States are self purchases. So they're not gift anymore. So I think those to me were the three shifts, and they all had to do to connected to the bouquet companies, but at the same time, one obviously connected to a major worldwide event, the pandemic. So I think
Right.
they're the major shifts. I think everything else has kind of played itself kind of normal um, as far as changing in the community is concerned. And I still think to this day, 20 years later, after the emergence of the successful bouquet companies, I mean, you've got Sunshine, Elite, Gems, Queen, and Passion. They're the five.
Yeah.
They're the names. And then you got the
Hmm.
wholesale world, you know, buying each other up, and you've got DV and Pennock is gone. You got DV,
Yeah.
Kennicott, and Mayesh, and Patient Skinner, and that's about it
Hmm.
for the mega names. So the industry is consolidating for better or worse. I think for some of the local suppliers, it's worse, but it's also better as far as pricing. I haven't seen a lot of price gouging because I know it. I know it. Look, I know what flowers at the farm cost. I
Yeah.
know what flowers in Colombia and Bogota and Quito, and I know if you go to a supermarket there, you could buy a what's a $20 bouquet here, you could buy for $5 there. There's
Yeah.
no
True.
labor, there's no freight, there's no transportation. Our
Hmm.
tariffs and freight is just through the roof. And
Yeah. It's crazy.
a 20 cent rose, Freedom Rose in I'm sorry, 35-cent Freedom Rose in Bogota is $2 here. So wholesale,
Yeah.
$5, $6 retail. So it's all about the freight and it's all about
Yeah.
logistics. Hey, listen, you have to have two drivers running a truck if you got more than a 10-hour shift going.
Yeah.
So you can't run a truck yourself. And all of that adds to it. So I think there's parts of the industry that our own industry don't doesn't understand. And they
Yeah.
don't understand the value of that flower that's in their hand. They don't understand that that flower has been through 100 hands and all kinds of financial processes just to get to you. Um,
Yeah. It's
Charge for
true.
it, make it worth it. And I think what makes us still different as florists and designers and event designers and freelancers is the special service that we can give to the clients. I think
Yeah.
that's hey, listen, we're going to lose that if we give up on that too. I've
Yeah. It's
I've been to
true.
supermarkets. A friend of mine, Laurel Holopeter, out in Des Moines, Iowa, he has like multiple thousand person following at his Hy-Vee flower shop that he runs, um, because he gives the most impeccable service. He does weddings and funerals and get
Yep.
wells and birthdays and everything else. And now they started delivering, and it's like, are you kidding me? So flower shops are going to lose that too if they don't understand. And
Yeah.
maybe most of them should. The
Yeah.
concept of attrition is not a horrible thing because attrition also leads to better. I mean, think about it. Think about the internet just 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And somebody would put a picture on there and it was this crappiest design with the crappiest background with bad lighting with a little dot of water on the camera lens and people are going, oh, you are the most amazing florist in the world. Oh, this is terrific, that's fantastic, this is great. Well, you know what, not stop saying it because
Yep.
the social media has all of a sudden then it spawned Pinterest and people are like, well, can you do this? Because if you can't do this, I don't want it. I don't care that you put these pictures online because none of them look like this picture. So
Right. Right.
we talked earlier about freelancing and copying and design, and you have to be able to be someone who can copy. Although I will tell you, in my world, copying you can't because at a certain level financially, nobody who wants to get into a magazine or be on TV or put their name out there among all their highest friends, you have to be better than the Joneses. So no matter what
Yeah.
you do, you have to be the next job has to be different. And the next job has to be different because
Hmm.
nobody wants to see what you already did once you hit above a certain level.
True. Yeah.
If you're into
Oh,
that
a
three
hundred
twenty
percent.
thousand dollar level and lower
Hmm.
wedding events, you could repeat and repeat and repeat. But once you
Yeah.
get to a certain level,
Yeah.
you can't. You
Speaking
just
of that, speaking of that, any interesting future projects coming up in 2026 for you that you want to share?
well, a few years ago, or for about 10 years now, Chris and I have been petitioning the flower show not to be in competition. At just 10 years into it, we had already won Best in Show 6 times. I mentioned that one horrible year already,
Hmm.
but the other 2 times were gold, silver also, along with the 6 Best in Shows. And we've been saying, look, we don't want to compete anymore. Can't you do us on some kind of a something? So finally, it wasn't until we not threatened, but said, "Look, we don't want to do this anymore. We don't want to be in competition. We're done." We won at that point. We had
Yeah.
won 9 golds. I mean, 9 best in shows. Of the At that time it was 17 years. Of those 17 years, 10 golds, one silver, then that 1 year of horribleness. But we were like, look, I mean, it's not fair. It's just not fair. And apparently they must have done some kind of research. And other people said, look, we don't want to, we might not come back if Schaefer
Yeah, I
can't.
was going to say it would definitely deter people
Yeah,
not to.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So they granted us this concept of legacy exhibit. And not only are we a legacy exhibitor, we are also now part of the central feature. So we are the grand entrance for the entire floral section for the past 2 years, and of course this upcoming year. This upcoming year, we're going back to our roots. So that's really exciting for us in the sense that the show is called Rooted,
yeah,
and we're going back to our roots in the sense that we're asking our crews to take a year or two off so that we can bring in all new people. Keep that core crew, the Philadelphia based crew who could come and work with us up to 2 months in advance on various weekends as we're
yeah,
designing stuff and things like that. But give other people a chance. We had a
yeah. That's
there
awesome.
there were times that we had a waiting list of over 100 people. And the problem happened during COVID. We were so afraid of people showing up. We kept saying yes, 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 yes. Last year we wound up with over 28 people on set during different days, and we only needed 15 or 16. People had
Yeah,
jobs. I felt like I was wasting people's money. They're paying all this airfare and hotel fees. We're not paying it. They're doing it on their own dime. And when we went to the World Cup in Holland back in September, we asked of our European friends who have been on our team over the years, and they all said, you have too many people. I'm like, well, I want to give you all the opportunity to enjoy the city and walk around and enjoy what's happening at the show. They said, we're there to work. We don't. So we asked every single one of them, more than a dozen of them who have been on our teams over the years. They all said, you never need more than 15 or 16 dedicated people. So this
okay,
year we've gone back to 16 dedicated high-end and first-time floral designers, two assistants, and Chris and I. That's it. And
yeah,
we're also really, really proud this year to introduce the success of last year's international exhibit group, where members of our team have been asked to do their own exhibit
oh
and
wow,
National Design Forum. I think that if they were allowed to compete, they probably would have won last year. Like every single award there was, they would have won. But they aren't. They're a beautiful exhibition. And this year, we again are bringing people back from our team and some of our friends from that Floral Fundamentals group who, the second place and the sixth place winner of the World Cup this year, Gabor Nagy and Chantal Post, along with Alex Segura, who does like all of the Nobel Peace Prize awards and stuff like that, along with Per Benjamin, and oh my God, and Franca Logan from New Zealand. So we're really proud about that. And then for Chris and
yeah,
I, just a month later, we go to Belgium, and we have one of the large. We have been asked to do one of the larger exhibits for Florian in Ghent. So that's the
wonderful.
first full week of May, and we are really looking forward to that. And once again, we build this amazingly fantastic network of friends. We mentioned to a few people, oh, hey, um, what are you doing in late April? Can you come and do this? Can you come and do that? I'm like, well, no, Chris and I are going to be an entire week in Ghent setting up, and I think we're going to stay in Belgium for a week just to hang out and
Yeah, my
see
gosh, why
everything
wouldn't you?
and enjoy it. And we have had more than half dozen people from Europe now reach out to us because they found out that we were going to be there and say, can we be on your team for setup? I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh,
yes,
how awesome.
please. So um, that worldwide network is pretty amazing. Those are the two.
Yeah.
Oh, and then quietly, there may be, just found out yesterday, and I can't really talk anything more about it, but let's say that there's a mega Middle Eastern opportunity for the entire month of August. So
Oh, all
yeah,
right. Well, we'll
I
have to
can't really
keep.
talk any more about that, other than to tell you
Okay,
that last year I was the founding floral director for the Muscat Flower Festival in Oman and spent a month there. Um, let's just say it has to do something with that, but it's not
okay.
confirmed, committed. But that's what I'm looking forward to next year.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to keep checking back. Bill, oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing interview. I absolutely adore you, and I'm so happy that we were able to talk and and share a little bit of your story. So thank you so much for coming on and being part of this series. It's so important.
Well, thanks so much for your persistence. I enjoyed this. Nice talking to you for, it's been
Yeah.
quite a while. And if it's anything else I can do for you guys in the future, I will be much more open. I don't know if I ever gave you my phone number. I need to make sure you have my phone. It's on my cards. You can
Okay.
call
Okay.
me, text me.
Okay.
Sometimes, especially if I'm in a different country, sometimes they just go to junk. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but they just do. And I travel a lot, so it's thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Bill.
Take care.